Quite a few years passed since the new vintage trend exploded. Since then, the brand started to dig into their past to unveil some of their iconic models, releasing modernized and reliable wristwatches one after another until we couldn't tell what's the difference between modern and vintage-inspired timekeepers. And sadly, some brands have gone under the radar with their creations because of the noisy releases of the important brands, leaving these models in the shadow. And today we discover and acknowledge more about these vintage-inspired chronographs without even mentioning about Speedmasters or Daytonas. And that's a promise. And we introduced the Tag Heuer Monaco, which is, in my opinion, a super icon. A watch that it is easily identified through its square shape, but with racing and motorsports as well. The Monaco regained its identity once with the launch of the Caliber 2 movement, but precisely because of the Golf revival. And less than 1 month ago, the Monaco Golf was awarded at Le Grand Prix du Rouget de Genève with the iconic prize, so more reasons to love this squared chronograph. And nowadays the new Monaco comes with a beefier case, due to the in-house caliber thickness with improved finishings but also with a tri-compacts feature instead of the iconic bicompacts one. The watch, besides the thickness, keeps the same sizing specs. And although it looks pretty large, this watch measures only 39 by 39 millimeters. And then the X factor besides the in-house caliber consists in the addition of a vintage-inspired bracelet. Pretty important because Heuer haven't launched a Monaco version on a bracelet for more than 30 years, so all the reasons to reconsider this icon. And I personally did, firstly because of the iconic shape and the meaning behind, but also for the black, silver and red accents of the watch, because it matches my firstly self-restored Corvette C3 from 1980. And then the Certina Ds Chronograph is, in my opinion, one of the best and good-looking white dial chronographs for the standard €1,700 price range. And when you walk physically into an AD, this watch will simply attract your attention. It cannot be ignored. That refined and good-looking it is. And although it has a bicompacts feature, this is as well a vintage-inspired chrono with roots from the 40s, so it's more a military watch than a racing one. And that due to the classic white dial and the telemeter graduation that allows you to determine based on the distance between a visual point, an explosion, and the sound when it reaches you. This classic chronograph was released on a 42mm case, but that doesn't mean it wears like a 42mm watch. In fact, it is optimized to sit well on the wrist, the height being good despite the Valjoux 775 movement and the boxed crystal. So proportion-wise, the height, and unlike other chronographs from the Swatch group, has the width and the length well balanced. And for detailed info, you can check out the review of this beauty. I will leave the link of each watch in the description. And because we started this video with under the radar brands, I am presenting you the Hanhart Red X. Now that's a cool name, and I've never reviewed this watch, although I should have had. If you don't know much about Hanhart, this is a German brand and as well with a massive heritage behind. This model is part of the Pioneer collection with roots from the World War II, where Hanhart developed watches specifically for the pilots and the naval officers. And as an identifier, Hanhart is known for their early monopushers chronographs, which are highlighted in red, which was developed to prevent pilots from unintentionally zeroing the stop time. There is also a metaphor behind the World War II story, saying that when a pilot left from home to serve in the army, he realizes that the stop time pusher was painted by his wife with red nail varnish as a symbol of returning home safely. But is also the fluted rotating bezel painted with an inlaid red marking, which helped the pilots to serve as a navigation point but also as a lap time counting. And what can I say? A chronograph full of meaning. The DS Chronograph 1968, aka the Argonaut, is Certina's latest chronograph or diver. And yes, this is a chrono diver, a concept developed by Certina at the dawn of the 60s. Back then, the development and the society demanded for such tools to combine the robustness and the waterproofness of a diver with the accuracy and the relevance of a chronograph serving for utility or recreational and underwater activities. In our case, this was Certina's answer to this demand, the Argonaut. Today, this reissue made by Certina sits on the larger side, serving as a robust tool watch respecting the same core values of the Argonaut, but measured at 43mm in diameter. In my view, a good-looking bicompacts with spectacular finishings, featuring a sapphire crystal and an insert, and a robust movement built on the latest standards, which sends this watch straight into the tool watches category, but vintage-inspired. This model is priced in the same range as the Swatch Group chronographs at around €1,800. And for more details, check out my full review. The Hamilton Intramatic Chronograph H needs no introduction. This is Hamilton's reissue after a mechanical bicompact chronograph from the 60s. So before the iconic battle of the first automatic chronograph, this model existed. I had the automatic version. I also reviewed the reverse panda, but this true panda with patina markers remained in my collection after a complex trade between three parties. I was complaining about the tube aspect of the automatic one, an effect obtained due to the thickness of 14+ mm with a width of only 40 mm. This mechanical version seems to be just perfect. Patina markers, good quality control, a box sapphire crystal, great wearability, which is dateless, cleaner, and more purposeful in my opinion. And both the automatic and the mechanical versions are reviewed on the channel. The link is either on the top right corner or in the description, listed next to the other ones. And then the recently reviewed Timex Q Chronograph fits very well on this collection of vintage-inspired chronos. And not necessarily because it inherited the identity of a Timex oldtimer, but because the brand knows how to create correct vintage-inspired watches. And it's true in this case with the help of the uber-hyped Daytona from the 70s. And as platform, this chrono is built on top of the Q model, keeping the same design language but with the addition of the vintage Daytona vibes. It is compact, pretty lightweight, has a tall box glass, patina subdials with great polished elements, and comes with a cool vintage inspired bracelet and has a big Q on the dial. And I explained in the detailed video why. Overall, what can I say? All the ingredients to create a hyped watch, especially for the price asked. And now we are moving to the most affordable mechanical chronograph from the list, the Seagull 1963. Which can be found for less than $200 on AliExpress, if you can believe it. It's true, we can question the reliability or the accuracy of the movement, but still, a great entry-level chronograph for any enthusiast. This model is available in multiple sizes, with sapphire or plastic glass, with different color accents on the dial and on the hands, as iterations of the original one from 1963. A thing to notice here is the fact that the popular one, which a lot of people possesses, it's actually a replica of the original one. The rights to use the original name and the heritage models belong to a company, and the prices of the original Seagull chronographs are way bigger than the one highlighted today. And as quality, this Seagull is decently made. It is correctly printed and finished, but the design itself is pretty simplistic. And percentage-wise, I think people are buying the Seagull mostly for the spectacular and colored movement and the way it wears, lesser for the front display. It is true or false? And then Zenith el Primero Revival is potentially the most suitable to be part of this neo-vintage collection. Once because Zenith knows how to revive with accuracy watches from their history, putting inside the original unused movements developed in the 70s but redecorated according to the actual standards. And twice because the label New Vintage for the brand means one-on-one with the original model. And you will understand once you have the chance to see one in flesh, the quality level and the manual finishing of the parts and the case. And then, once you experience the leather bracelet, which is made from thin stamped metal parts, exactly as the one from the 70s. And once you see this, you will ask yourself, why are they asking me 7,000 euros for this piece? However, this is still a brave bidder on the channel, and for more details you can check out the dedicated review. Nivada is another brand that knows how to revive watches with accuracy, keeping the same properties, features and sizes really close to the original ones. And I enjoy that because nowadays there are just a few brands that literally respect the sizing, the colors and the features of the original vintage models. Our hero, the Chronomaster Aviator Sea Diver, is a 9-in-1 watch. This watch offers a timeout feature that keeps the record of the total elapsed time, a stopwatch, a doctor's watch to measure the pulse, a skin diver which ensured 100 meters water resistance with aviator capabilities, a tachymeter, a yachting timer, a time zone watch and a regular time, exactly as the original model. But sorry, the original model had 666 feet water resistance. And then the watch is compact, it sits very well on the wrist, the case is well optimized and the height of 13.7mm is actually not noticeable because the case back sits buried on the wrist and then the lugs are laying perfectly on the wrist surface. And yes, we can also include Nivada as a brand that makes original vintage models, not vintage inspired timekeepers or reimagined. So these are my 9 vintage inspired picks for the neo-vintage chronographs category. And I am as usual curious to know which ones are your favorites, but also suggestions for future chronograph reviews are welcomed, so please let me know in the comments below. and as usual, if you're new here, please subscribe for future episodes. Thank you very much, thanks for watching, and until next time, be brave but stay safe.